Hey everyone, and welcome! Buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the future of transportation.
Yeah, get ready for flying cars, super speed trains.
And cities designed for people, not just traffic
It's a
jams.
total transportation revolution.
And we
And
have a ton of research to back it all up.
what's really fascinating is that we're not just talking about a bunch of cool inventions.
Right.
This is a massive shift, like a system reboot that'll change everything
From how we commute,
to where we choose to live.
and even the air we breathe.
Exactly. It's pretty mind-blowing.
So let's break it all down, shall we? First up.
Self-driving cars.
I know. We've all heard the hype.
Right.
But this time it feels different, doesn't it?
It really does, and for good reason. Think about this.
Okay.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they found that human error is a factor in over 90% of car accidents.
Wow, 90%. That's a scary thought.
It is. So if we could take human error out of the equation.
By taking the human out of the driver's seat,
Exactly.
then theoretically accidents should plummet.
That's the idea. A massive decrease in accidents just by going autonomous.
It makes sense, but are we just opening ourselves up to a whole new set of problems?
Like what?
Like hacking. Imagine our roads becoming incredibly vulnerable to cyber attacks or system failures.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The cybersecurity of these systems, well, it has to be top-notch, no question.
It's got to be rock solid.
Because we're not just talking about data here.
Right, we're talking about lives.
Absolutely. So redundancies, fail-safes, and constant vigilance against cyber attacks are going to be absolutely essential as we move towards this driverless future.
I get that, but it's still a little unnerving, you know?
I understand.
Putting your life in the hands, so to speak, of an algorithm.
It is a big leap of faith for sure.
But let's focus on the potential upsides for a minute.
Okay, like what?
Less traffic, shorter commutes, who wouldn't want that?
I mean, picture a world where vehicles are all talking to each other, seamlessly optimizing routes.
Avoiding those dreaded traffic jams in real time.
Yeah, no more stop-and-go rush hour, just smooth sailing.
That's the dream.
And it goes beyond individual commutes. Think about businesses.
Delivery services, emergency responders.
Exactly. We can see a huge boost to the entire economy just from the efficiency gains alone.
I see your point, but hold on. Couldn't this lead to even more urban sprawl?
Huh. How so?
Well, if commutes aren't a pain anymore, people might move further out, leading to more development, more concrete, and more environmental consequences.
That's a really important point. You're right. The potential for increased sprawl is definitely a concern.
It is.
And it highlights how crucial, thoughtful urban planning is going to be.
We can't just slap on some new tech and call it a day.
Exactly. We need policies that encourage density and discourage unsustainable development.
So it's not just about making transportation more efficient.
Right. It's about making sure it guides us towards a better future for people and the planet.
It's about weaving this tech into our existing urban fabric in a smart way.
That's a great way to put it. And it leads us to another exciting piece of this puzzle. Electrification.
Ah, yes, electric vehicles.
But not just cars. Think bigger.
Buses, trucks.
Even planes. The whole transportation landscape is going electric.
Okay, so fewer gas guzzlers, less pollution. That's got to be good for the planet, right?
It is. Sustainability is a major driving force behind this shift.
But what about range anxiety? People are still worried about running out of juice on the road.
I hear you, but battery tech is evolving so fast. For example, lithium metal batteries.
Okay, those sound promising.
They are. They have a much higher energy density than current lithium-ion batteries. So that means
Longer ranges.
exactly hundreds of miles on a single charge.
Okay, that changes things. What about charging? It takes forever.
Not necessarily. Charging infrastructure is also expanding rapidly. Picture this.
Okay.
Charging stations as common as gas stations today, maybe even integrated into parking garages and workplaces.
That would be convenient.
Right. Imagine pulling into work and your car just starts charging automatically.
No more hunting for a charging station.
Exactly. The whole experience becomes much smoother and less stressful.
Okay, I'm sold on electric. So we've got self-driving electric vehicles zipping around our cities.
Zipping around, that might be an understatement. What's next?
Jetpacks. Teleportation?
Huh. Well, we're not quite there yet.
Duh.
But how about flying cars?
Wait, seriously?
Seriously, it's called urban air mobility, or UAM.
UAM. Catchy.
It is, and it's not just science fiction anymore. Companies like Joby Aviation and Volocopter are developing electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft.
EV. So basically electric air taxis.
You got it.
I can see the appeal. Skip all that traffic below.
Exactly. Faster commutes, especially in congested cities.
But wouldn't our skies be incredibly crowded and noisy with all those things flying around?
That's a valid concern. Noise pollution is definitely something engineers are working on. Quieter EVTOL designs are a top priority.
I hope so.
And of course, we need to rethink air traffic management.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a whole other challenge.
It is. We'll need incredibly sophisticated systems to ensure everything runs smoothly and safely in already crowded airspace.
It's almost like we'd need a whole new air traffic control system just for these flying taxis.
Exactly, and new infrastructure on the ground, too.
Like what?
Think vertiports, basically mini airports for EV tolls,
Makes sense?
integrated into city rooftops, parking structures. Picture it, a seamless transition from road to sky.
Okay, I can see it. So while eVTOLs are conquering the skies above our cities,
Another innovation is aiming to revolutionize travel between them.
the Hyperloop,
You know,
I've heard it described as a super speed train, like something out of a sci-fi movie.
it does sound pretty futuristic.
Traveling in a vacuum tube?
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
Can you break that down for us? How does that even work?
Picture this. You step into a pod, the doors close, and whoosh, you're off.
Off to where?
To your destination at speeds approaching 760 miles per hour.
Wait, 760 miles per hour? Is that even possible?
It is. That's faster than a commercial jetliner.
That's mind-blowing. So a trip from Los Angeles to San Francisco could take less than an hour.
Potentially, yeah. It could completely redefine inner-city travel, make long commutes feasible.
I guess distance wouldn't really matter anymore.
Not as much. And think about the impact on regional business hubs.
Companies could relocate headquarters to smaller towns, boost local economies.
Exactly. It's a game changer for sure.
It sounds incredible, but what about the environmental impact? I mean, building those massive tubes across vast distances.
That's where the Hyperloop's potential for sustainability shines. Unlike airplanes, it can be powered entirely by renewable energy.
Solar, wind.
Exactly. So ultra-fast travel with a much smaller carbon footprint.
Okay, so we're talking about a future where we can travel between cities in a fraction of the time with minimal environmental impact.
It's a pretty compelling vision.
It is. But let's shift gears for a minute from the super fast to the super convenient.
All right, what do you have in mind?
Mobility as a service, or MA. Have you heard of this?
I have. It's all about integration and convenience, basically.
Yeah.
Your transportation, all in one app.
Explain that.
Imagine opening your Moz app, you enter your destination, and bam, you've got options.
Okay.
Like a quick e-bike ride to the station, a scenic train journey, and then maybe a shared autonomous pod waiting at your arrival, all planned, all paid for, within the app.
That's a lot of moving pieces.
But it's all connected. No more juggling multiple apps and payment methods. Just one seamless system to get you from point A to point B.
Okay, so less hassle, more convenience. I like it. But wouldn't this create a digital divide?
What do you mean?
Well, what about people who don't have smartphones or internet access?
You're right. Equitable access is crucial. We need to think about offline payment options, partnerships with community organizations, maybe even public kiosks where people can access Moz without a smartphone.
I see. So ensuring that everyone can benefit, not just the tech-savvy folks.
Exactly. Innovation should create a more equitable transportation system, not make the existing inequalities worse.
It seems like a lot of the challenges with these new technologies boil down to that.
To what?
Making sure they are accessible and beneficial to everyone, not just a select few.
You're absolutely right. It's not enough to just develop shiny new toys. We need to make sure they are tools for positive change.
Tools that create a more just and sustainable world for everyone.
Well said. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
It is. We've covered self-driving cars, electric vehicles, flying taxis, and even super-speed trains. Is there anything we missed?
Oh, there's plenty more where that came from. We've only just scratched the surface.
I had a feeling.
Buckle up. In Part 2, we'll explore how these technologies are reshaping our cities and delve into the societal and economic impacts of this incredible transportation revolution.
I can't wait. See you then. Welcome back, everyone.
Glad to be back.
Last time we were talking about all these incredible transportation innovations and how they could change the way we get around. It's exciting stuff.
It really is. And it's not just about the vehicles themselves.
Right. It's about how they reshape our cities.
Exactly. Our lives, too. These technologies could fundamentally alter the urban landscape.
Okay, paint me a picture. What does a city designed for this new era of transportation look like?
All right, imagine this. Wide, tree-lined avenues where pedestrians and cyclists have priority.
Okay, I like it.
Sidewalks bustling with life.
No more dodging crowds on tiny sidewalk.
Exactly. Cafes spilling out onto the streets and kids playing freely in parks and plazas.
It sounds pretty idyllic.
It does, doesn't it? A city designed for people, not just cars,
But how do we get from our current car-centric cities to this pedestrian paradise? Seems like a huge leap.
is a big shift. But it starts with changing our mindset. We need to move away from the idea that cities are primarily designed for cars.
Okay, I'm
I
listening.
need to embrace streets as public spaces, spaces for people.
So reclaim space currently dedicated to parking lots and roadways.
Exactly. Repurpose it for green spaces, bike lanes, wider sidewalks.
Less asphalt, more greenery. I'm all for it. But wouldn't that require massive infrastructure overhauls?
It would take some work, but it's doable.
And wouldn't we risk displacing existing businesses and communities?
That's a valid concern. That's why thoughtful urban planning is so important.
Can't just bulldoze our way through.
Exactly. Community engagement is crucial too, making sure these transformations are inclusive and equitable.
So everyone benefits.
Everyone benefits from the shift towards a more people-centric city.
Right, because it's not just about aesthetics. It's about creating a city that works for everyone.
Absolutely. And speaking of benefits, let's talk about cleaner air.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Huge. With fewer gas guzzlers on the road, thanks to electric vehicles and other sustainable modes of transportation, we could see a significant reduction in air pollution.
Especially in those densely populated urban areas.
Right. Think about it. Fewer respiratory problems, less smog, a healthier environment overall.
That's a huge win for public health.
It is, but of course, there are always potential downsides to consider too.
We've talked about the digital divide, but what other unintended consequences could come from this massive shift in how we get around?
Well, one concern is increased social isolation.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, if people are spending more time in autonomous vehicles, engrossed in their own digital worlds,
Staring at their phones, watching movies,
right, it could lead to less face-to-face interaction.
and weaker community ties.
Exactly. The irony of being more connected digitally, but more disconnected socially.
It's a strange paradox.
It is, and it highlights the need for urban design that encourages social interaction, creating opportunities for people to connect.
So maybe those vibrant public spaces we talked about become even more important.
Absolutely, they become essential hubs for community building.
And what about physical activity? I mean, if we're relying more on autonomous vehicles and less on walking or cycling.
That's another valid concern. It could lead to a more sedentary lifestyle, an increase in health problems related to inactivity.
So we need to make sure that all this new tech doesn't make us less healthy.
Exactly. We need to find ways to encourage active transportation, even in a world where getting around is becoming increasingly automated.
It's like a balancing act, embracing the convenience and efficiency of these new technologies,
Right.
but also being mindful of the potential downsides.
Making sure we don't sacrifice our health or our sense of community in the process.
Right, because what good is a hyper-efficient city if we're all glued to our screens and too out of shape to enjoy it?
Exactly. Technology should enhance our lives, not detract from them.
Well said. And it makes me think about another aspect of this that we haven't touched on much yet. Artificial intelligence.
AI, yeah, it's going to play a huge role in all of this.
I mean, it already is, but as we rely more and more on AI to power our vehicles, manage our transportation systems.
We need to have a serious conversation about ethics and accountability.
Okay, let's delve into that. I mean, AI is already making decisions for us in many areas of life.
Sure.
But when it comes to transportation, the stakes seem even higher.
How so?
We're talking about life or death decisions in some cases.
That's a good point. Imagine an autonomous vehicle is faced with an unavoidable accident.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How does the AI decide who to protect, who to potentially harm?
That's a heavy question.
It is incredibly complex ethical dilemmas with no easy answers.
I mean, who programs that? Who decides?
Exactly, and that's why transparency is so crucial. We need to understand how these algorithms are designed, how they're trained.
So we know what criteria they're using to make these life-altering decisions.
Exactly, and we need robust regulations, ethical guidelines for the development and deployment of these AI-powered transportation systems.
So we can't just let the tech companies run wild with their
We
innovations.
need oversight, accountability to ensure that these systems are operating safely and ethically.
Because ultimately, lives are at stake,
You got it, and it's an ongoing conversation as AI evolves.
which it's doing rapidly.
Right. We need to constantly reassess our ethical frameworks and regulations to keep pace.
Make sure we're staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Technology is moving fast. We need to make sure our ethics can keep up.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential impact on our cities, our health, even our ethical values. But what about the economic implications? of this transportation revolution?
The economic impacts are going to be huge, no doubt about it, and multifaceted.
In what way?
Well, on one hand, we're probably going to see job displacement.
As automation takes over?
Exactly. Roles traditionally performed by humans, truck drivers, taxi drivers, delivery drivers.
That's a worrying thought. I mean, what happens to all those people who lose their jobs to robots?
That's where retraining and job creation initiatives are key.
So helping those displaced workers acquire new skills for the jobs of the future.
Exactly. And it's not just about replacing lost jobs.
Right, because entirely new industries are likely to emerge too.
Exactly. Think about the design and manufacture of eVTOLs,
Mhm.
construction and maintenance of Hyperloop systems, development of software and AI systems for autonomous vehicles.
So while some jobs might be lost, new opportunities will be created.
It's a period of disruption for sure, but also a time of incredible innovation.
A time to embrace new possibilities.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
it's important to remember that technology is a tool.
It is. It's up to us to decide how to use it.
Exactly. We need to use it wisely, ethically, to create a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Well said. This deep dive is really making me think about the future in a whole new way.
It's quite a journey, isn't it?
It is, and it's clear that this transportation revolution is going to have a huge impact on every aspect of our lives.
I think so too, and it's not something that's just going to happen to us.
Right, we have a say.
Exactly. It's a future that we need to actively shape.
Okay, before we wrap up part 2, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, sustainable aviation fuels.
SAFs, yeah,
It seems like air travel is finally getting a green makeover.
it's starting to.
But how realistic is it to scale up production of these fuels to meet the demands of the global aviation industry?
That's the big question. As SAFs have enormous potential to reduce the environmental impact of air travel.
Right.
But there are challenges, scaling up production and making them cost competitive with traditional jet fuel.
So it's not a simple overnight switch.
It's going to take some work.
What needs to happen to make SAFs a viable alternative?
Well, we need a multi-pronged approach, continued investment in research and development to improve the efficiency and lower the cost of SAF production.
So make them more affordable.
Exactly. And we need supportive government policies, incentives for airlines to adopt SAFs.
And encourage investment in production facilities.
Right. And collaboration is key. Airlines, fuel producers, feedstock suppliers, everyone working together to build a robust and sustainable supply chain.
It sounds like a lot of moving parts.
It is, but if we can make it work, SAFs could be a game changer for the aviation industry,
Reducing carbon emissions from air travel.
making flying a much more sustainable option.
So while we're reimagining our cities and transforming how we travel on the ground, we're also looking to the skies.
For cleaner, more sustainable solutions.
Exactly. This transportation revolution is happening on multiple fronts.
It's truly exciting to see the innovation and ingenuity driving this transformation.
It is well said. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've explored the potential benefits and challenges of this transportation revolution.
From its impact on our cities and our health, to the ethical considerations of AI and the economic implications of automation.
It's a lot to process, but it's important, and we're not done yet.
We're not.
Join us for part 3, where we'll wrap up our discussion and talk about what we can do today to help shape a more sustainable and equitable transportation future. Welcome back to our deep dive into the future of transportation. It's been quite a journey so far.
It has. We've covered a lot of ground.
We've explored self-driving cars, flying taxis, even the mind-boggling Hyperloop,
Examine the potential benefits and challenges, the ethical dilemmas.
and the economic implications of it all.
This transportation revolution is a pretty big deal.
It is, and one thing keeps coming back to me, this idea of connection.
Connection, how so?
Well, at its core, transportation is all about connecting people to places, to experiences, to opportunities.
You're right. It's not just about getting from point A to point B.
It's about what those connections enable us to do, to experience.
Exactly. Think about a world where transportation is seamless, affordable, accessible for everyone.
That's the dream. No more barriers.
Imagine commutes becoming opportunities for productivity or relaxation, maybe even learning.
Instead of just a stressful grind.
Right. And geographic barriers fading, access to education, healthcare, employment, all within reach.
Regardless of location or physical abilities.
It's a powerful vision, a more equitable and interconnected world.
Where transportation helps us live richer, more fulfilling lives.
I like that, but let's bring it back down to earth for a minute.
Okay, back to reality.
We've talked about all these futuristic concepts.
Unline cars, super speed trains.
But what about right now? What can we do today to nudge things in the right direction?
To shape the future of transportation we want to see,
Well, there's a lot we can do, both individually and collectively. We can support policies that promote sustainable transportation.
like investing in public transit.
Exactly. Bike
Yeah.
infrastructure, pedestrian-friendly urban design.
So advocating for those things, making our voices heard,
Yes, and on a personal level, we can make conscious choices about how we travel.
walking, cycling, taking public transportation whenever possible,
Choosing fuel-efficient vehicles,
Mhm.
carpooling when we do have to drive,
being mindful of our transportation footprint,
making choices that align with our values.
and staying informed, engaged in the conversation,
Reading articles, listening to podcasts like this one,
attending community meetings.
sharing our perspectives on how we want our transportation systems to evolve.
So we're not just passengers along for the ride.
We're active participants, shaping the trajectory of these advancements.
That's a good way to put it, but it can feel a bit overwhelming at times.
I understand how so.
There's just so much going on, so many different technologies, so many potential challenges.
It's true. The future of transportation is complex and uncertain.
But that's also what makes it so exciting, right?
Absolutely. We're at a crossroads. The choices we make today will have a huge impact on the world of tomorrow.
It's like we're all on this journey into the future of transportation.
And we get to help steer the course.
Exactly. But it's not a solo mission. We need everyone on board.
Collaboration is key, bringing together diverse perspectives, engineers, policymakers, urban planners, everyday citizens.
Everyone working together to ensure that this transportation revolution benefits everyone.
Finding solutions that are innovative, equitable, and sustainable.
Because it's not enough to just invent new things. We have to ask ourselves,
What kind of future are we creating?
how do we ensure these advancements enhance our lives, not isolate us further? How do we create transportation systems that are accessible and affordable for all? How do we mitigate the potential negative impacts on the environment, on social equity?
These are the big questions we need to be asking.
And answering not just experts and policymakers, but all of us.
This is a conversation that needs to happen in our communities, in our homes, around our dinner tables.
So, listener, as we wrap up this deep dive, we leave you with this final thought.
The future of transportation is not predetermined.
It's a canvas waiting to be painted.
By our collective vision, our actions, and our commitment to creating a world where mobility empowers us all.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. It's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating topic with you and with all of our listeners.